Welcome back aboard Blurred Forest One with your boy Mo, and this is the Supercast. The Supercast where we talk about all things superhero in our pop culture media, and that's movies, it's TV shows, it's video games. We talk about the news, do some speculation, all that good nerdy stuff. And before we get into the podcast today, you know what to do. Get down there and hit like on this video. And yeah, I'm flying solo this week, unfortunately, but you know what? We're going to make it happen as always because we got to talk about all this superhero stuff. It is the superhero summer. We are getting what could potentially be like classic superhero movies this year, this summer, July in particular. In a couple weeks, we're getting Superman from James Gunn. In about 4 weeks, we are getting Fantastic Four First Steps, the next big event movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Lots of press and lots of marketing going on with those right now. I'm really excited to the point where I'm actually waiting on some Funko Pops that I paid full price for. And you know better than that. I don't, I don't like to do that. But I'm really excited for Superman and Fantastic Four. I'm ready to give them my money. I got my tickets. They are secured. I'm probably going to have to hit up second and third showings of those. I'm super excited. As I hope all of you are. If you're watching this podcast, you got to be into this stuff. And so I'm sure you guys are waiting on these things just like I am. But in the meantime, of course, we got more things going on. Ironheart just dropped this last Wednesday. So obviously we are going to have to talk about that. And that's going to be a good little review at the end of this episode. But before I do all that, before we get into the news and everything, of course, I got to talk about what I've been up to. That's nerdy. Not a ton this week. I will say I've just been kind of busy with other things. But I've done a little something. I watched the original Predator this week. About a week ago, I guess I will say. And I watched it with my daughter, who she's a teenager. She's never seen it before. But I really wanted to show her Prey, which is Dan Trachtenberg wrote and directed that about a Native American woman who fought a predator. But I think that you can't really watch Prey. I mean, you could watch Prey without having watched Predator and still get something out of it. But you get a lot more if you've seen the OG Predator. And I got a chance to watch that with her. It holds up. It's still a really good movie. It's a horror movie that pretends like it's a military action movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger is simultaneously a big action hero, but also a slasher film, Final Girl. It's a it's a movie that holds up. I think it's actually the reason why there's a franchise of Predator movies is because that movie just hit so hard. And it'll be a good follow-up to watch Prey right after that. So that was fun. Of course, I've been staying on anime. I'm trying to find a new anime to check out. I'm not really sure right now. I'm still waiting for Lazarus to finish itself up. But I've just been sort of like looking for the next big one, trying a few things here and there. Nothing really interesting to report back yet, but hopefully I'll find a new show to watch. Beyond that, I did some nerding on a budget. You guys know how I do. I ain't got all the money in the world, but I do want all of this stuff, the stuff that you see behind me. I'm trying to find that on the cheap. So I hit up my local thrift shop and I hit up a couple of local thrift shops and Amazon to get some kind of cool things this week. So let me share these things with you. So a couple of toys. Well, it's really Funkos. As you can see, I'm closing in on 200 Funko Pops. Whether or not you think that's cool or pathetic, I don't know. I love Funko Pops. I don't take them out the box, but I like to display them. So I'm going to be adding a couple things to the wall. And actually, I found these at Dollar Tree. If your Dollar Tree may actually have some interesting stuff. So I found this is the Shazam Fury of the Gods Calypso, who's played by Lucy Liu. $5 for that. That was really cool. I also found there. This was like for the 90s kids and people who like X-Men 97 and X-Men the animated series. I got a Jubilee, which is another really cool picture, pop. I'm trying not to get the glare on it, but she looks really cool like that. So I got a couple pops to go on the wall. Uh, Also, I'm still, I'm a physical media person. You should be too. By the way, y'all should be really getting into physical media. Not just because streaming kind of sucks, like the way streaming stuff goes on and off. You may not know for sure if you can get something that you want to watch. But also just like as kind of maybe one day you really want to unplug and you want to still be able to watch your stuff, or maybe you don't have internet access. I don't know. Physical media, I think, is going to be more important in the coming years as they try to monetize every interaction you have with media. When you buy it, you own it. So, like, definitely get into that. That being said, hit up the local thrift shop. The one that's been really hooking me up lately. They actually have a sale where they have a certain color stickers, and if you get them, you get half off. So I took advantage of that to get some more comics. I'm getting a pretty good stack of trade paperbacks. So I got the Astonishing X-Men run by Matthew Rosenberg, Greg Land. Again, sorry about the glare there. I can't help that the lights. This was $2, $2 for that. Not a huge fan of Greg Land, but $2. Come on. I also got X-Men to Protect and Serve. I think it's kind of a bit of an anthology thing. This was $4. That's pretty cool. And then I got this from Goodwill for $4 called The Gravediggers. Union. I just kind of like to get independent stuff, and just, that looks like it might be cool. $4. It's hard to beat trade paperbacks like that. Also, because I collect movies. Blu-rays mostly, but I will get DVDs if they're the right price and if they are the right thing. So I got these are unsealed, by the way, again at the thrift shop, $1 a piece. So this is the Social Network, a special edition of it. It is DVD, but like still, it's sealed, so like in pristine condition. Love that. I also got Hotel Rwanda, again DVD. Sorry. I cannot find the not glare on this. Hotel Rwanda, a great movie. I would like to have had it on Blu-ray if I find it for cheap on Blu-ray, but right now I've got it on DVD. Really good, and it's again sealed, $1. I got this one called New York, New York, which I'm not sure. It's not really a nerdy thing, but I do like classic films. That's pretty good. It's Liza Minnelli and Robert De Niro. Then I got Power Rangers. Yes, the much maligned 2016 Power Rangers, but I've heard it's good, so I'm really gonna enjoy checking out. It is DVD. I wish it was Blu-ray, but you know what? It was $1. Also, I found it at Goodwill, getting some of my really nerdy stuff on. Wolverine Origins, X-Men Origins Wolverine, which most people think sucks, and I agree. But I'm a completionist. I'm gonna get my X-Men movies. I also found, this is just a childhood thing, but look, The Little Mermaid, the animated. This is a special edition Blu-ray. Absolutely worth it. I still think it's one of the better, Disney animated movies, and I don't give a damn. I grew up watching it. I'm glad I have it now. And finally, got Predators. I was just talking about Predators. One of the better entries in the whole franchise that really I think understands what Predator is all about. So I'm a big fan of all that. So and finally, I gotta show this every time. My last little bit. I got yet another banner, and it's a pretty dope one. If I can unfurl it properly. So I got this is, as you can see, it says Kane Marco and Piotr I can't say his name. But Colossus versus this is what's his name, Juggernaut, and I forget what comic that's from, but it's pretty cool. That is I believe that's John Romita Sr. Art, looking pretty dope. Love that. I'm going to put that up as you see right back there. Find another place for it. Those banners are looking pretty dope on my wall. So yeah, had a pretty good nerdy week getting my nerd on a budget. So all that being said, look, we're gonna go ahead and get into the news for the week. This is it's pretty thin news week. I have to be honest, pretty thin news week. I only got about a few things to talk about, but that's fine because we have time for that review toward the end of this episode. So what are we talking about this week? Well, just got some news, great news for DC fans and people who are waiting for the Batman Part 2. Mahershala Ali speaks out on the status of Blade. Where's his mind at on Blade? John Bernthal is going to be showing up in another MCU thing besides Daredevil. What could it be? Blip is what what I might say. Ironheart's getting review bombed. Big ass surprise. The racists are out and mad again. So we'll just talk a little bit about that. I'll drag them for filth like they deserve. And then, of course, I'm going to talk about episodes 1 through 3 of Ironheart and how I felt about them. So we got a little bit to talk about. We're probably not going to be here too long, but you know what? We'll have a good and fun and productive conversation. So let's get into it. So everybody, you see it on the screen. The Batman 2 script is finally finished. It is finally finished. I feel like we were just talking about this when we were talking about that big interview that James Gunn did with Rolling Stone. Which, by the way, if y'all didn't first of all, watch the previous episode where we talked about that. Me and Polly sort of broke down some of the things that were talked about in it. But also, if you can, go read the article. It's really good. It's got a lot of good, insight into the future of the DC universe, DC Studios. But one of the things he talked about there was that one, expressing his admiration and appreciation for a fellow director and writer, Matt Reeves, and how much he really liked the Batman and how much they are excited for the Batman Part 2. But also, he's literally said, hey, get off Matt's nuts. He's going to be done when he's done. Like, let him cook, basically. And I agreed. I agree with him. Let him cook. Matt Reeves, he's not Speedy Gonzalez. He's not. He's not gonna, first of all, do you understand that reference? I don't know if y'all watched watched Looney Tunes growing up. If you didn't, he's not the Flash. He's not gonna write, he's not, or more to the point, he's not James Patterson. He's not gonna write 10 books in one day. That shit's not happening. He takes his time to cook, but when he does cook, it's a damn fine meal. So like, I get it. Chill. Let Matt Reeves do what he does. Well, he has done what he does. He just posted literally maybe an hour ago before I started recording this. He posted on his I think it's Instagram a picture of him and his co-writer, which is, let me see if I remember the guy's name, Matt Tomlinson, the co-writer of the script. They show completed the Batman 2 script. It is done. We are finally gonna get started on the Batman Part 2 because the script first at DC Studios, then pre-production and so forth. So what does this mean for the timeline? I mean, maybe I'll be drawing Social Security by the time this movie comes. And I think this and Blade are competing for who can take the longest to get from script to screen. And I mean, oddly enough, the black film is the slower. Well, I guess that's not odd, given what we know about Hollywood. But the Blade 2 has been announced longer. But the point is, it's taking longer than it should. And with this one, it really is because Matt Reeves just takes his time writing the script. But here it is, pre-production. It should be starting, I hope, soon. And so the question then is, when are we going? Well, there's several questions. What is this going to be about? And when can we expect, some cast announcements, some, maybe a date, any of that stuff? To which I say, Cast announcements. I mean, I figure they'll start trickling out because you got to figure it's pre-production, so they'll probably start trickling out by by the time Peacemaker starts premiere. So that's August. So yeah, in a few months, as they, it's going to take some time to finalize names and everything like that. So I figure we're going to start getting more solid information about this September ish, somewhere around there. We'll start getting some of the preliminary stuff. Pre-production often takes months, maybe 3-4 months to actually get going as they location scout. Yeah, look, they got to get all the stuff together. You can't just slapdash this shit together. So, and it costs millions of dollars just to get pre-production going. So, yeah, it'll be a while before we actually hear any concrete information about all of that. As far as when is this going to come out, it really kind of depends. What kind of movie is this? What kind of movie or is this? If this is the Batman one style of movie, they could. I really honestly think they could film this in 3-4 months and turn around all the VFX within 12 months. So you, if it's that level of groundedness, which there's nothing to indicate it's not that level of groundedness. They're not gonna, we're not gonna get Clayface like we saw in Batman the Animated Series. We're not gonna get Man Bat. We're not gonna get shit like that. Matt Reeves is not playing in that kind of territory. So we're not. Look, it's not gonna be, it's not gonna be Dark Side that needs to be CG'd in or Steppenwolf. It's just gonna be dudes in suits. Most mobsters, a lot of practical effects, gunplay, and car chases and shit like that. At most, maybe we'll get a bat plane, and that'll be it. So I suspect. I look. I'm not saying this is not going to come out next year, um, because of the, like I said, you need about a year turnaround on VFX probably, and you need to start filming, and more than likely this doesn't start filming until the end of the year at earliest. And when I say end of the year, I mean like November, December, maybe. More, what seems more likely, since it's about to be July, it seems more likely that it would, at latest starts in January. So you're talking about probably 2027, summer of 2027 seems like a more reasonable timetable. I don't know. I'm not sitting up there at DC Studios hanging over their shoulders and being like, "Look, this is when we can and can't do shit." It just seems like a reasonable timetable uh, that accounts for reshoots and also whatever the fuck else Warner Brothers, Discovery, and DC has coming out, because they don't just randomly throw this shit out. It's got to work with their schedule. That I'd say, yeah, I'm not anticipating this anytime before 2027. I'm excited though. You should be excited too. I'm ready to see what's up with this, and maybe they can finally put to rest all this speculation about who the fuck is going to be Batman for the DCU. It's not going to be Pattinson. I would like for it to be Pattinson. I would dearly love for that to be true, not just because it would mesh together, the DCU and Matt Reeves's, Gotham. Not just because of that. That would be cool. But I kind of like the idea of the clash of kind of styles. The Batman is very specific, and it's a super detective comic sort of deal. Superman is the Technicolor DC world. I want to see them two, you know, clash really, kind of really come together and kind of show what DC how varied DC actually is. But if he doesn't turn out to be that, that's fine too. It's totally fine. Like we can get another Batman, and it's fine. And I think the audience is not too slow to understand that there can be two Batmans at the same time. But who knows? Maybe the synergy will be there. All that being said, there's a lot of words for hey, they finished the script, but I'm happy that it happened. I can't wait to see whatever progress they plan to or they have in store for us. So we'll keep an eye out on that, and I'll let you guys know what I think about it when we get it. So Mahershala Ali, my dog, he said he was on the red carpet, and someone asked like, "What's going on with Blade?" And apparently he doesn't know any more than you or I, because he said, "Hey, I'm call Marvel, tell him I'm ready. I'm ready to go." Um, and you gotta wonder, Kevin Feige, what's happening? What this has been an ongoing refrain about Blade for like 5 years. I'm not even joking. For 5 years. Well, this is one of the post Endgame things, right? Endgame came out in 2019. It's the year after Endgame came out. This was one thing. It's been 5 years, and not a fuck thing has happened. Not all that's happened is they've blown through several directors, got rid of hell. It's gone on for so long that Bodemayo even did a script treatment, and it's been like rejected. Bodemayo, he had enough time to work on that, do X-Men '97, and get fired. Like that's how long this has been cooking, or more likely, I wouldn't even say simmering. At this point, the pot is not even on the fucking stove. The ingredients are still in the fridge at this point. The shit is wild. This should be, and we talked about this before about David Goyer saying, like, this should be an easy thing to do. And I agree, it should be easier to do. Somehow, Marvel's not getting it together. And the fact that the purported star of this damn movie is telling a reporter on the red carpet, "Hey, tell Marvel to call me," is wild and concerning. And also, it sort of confirms something that I think we've suspected, which is that they aren't really gonna make this damn movie. Like it sounds good. It sounded good when they announced it, which of course they announced it with no what all they had was a person and a film name and just a concept, but they didn't have an actual script. They didn't have a story. They had no idea how it was supposed to incorporate into the MCU. It was not on the radar. And we've seen something like this happen recently with DC Studios and Clayface and Mike Flanagan coming to them with an idea and then actually bringing a script that was done. But that's a bit of a different thing because this wasn't even like that. There was no idea. There was a actor with 2 Oscars that said, "I want to be Blade. Let's make it." And Kevin Feige's like, "Yay, Oscar winner Mahershala Ali, we'll do this." And then didn't know what the fuck to do, apparently. So this is not good. But this is the latest in a long, long series of events that aren't good. That have this look. This is has all the hallmarks of a buried project, of a project that's never going to get like this is in the Flash territory. Except Mahershala Ali and done a lot of bullshit that's making the studio not want to make this. This genuinely seems like they don't know what the fuck to do with Blade. Like they actually don't know what to do with Blade. Mahershala Ali hell, he's in Jurassic World. He was on the red carpet for Jurassic World. He got time. He sat there and he's making other movies. All sorts of other movies. He's not a screenwriter. He's just saying, I'm a name and I want to do this character. Give me a movie to get into. And Marvel is failing to deliver, and this is wild. And I just want to understand, why is Mahershala Ali getting this kind of treatment? And you might be like, well, why has it got to be about him getting treated badly? He is getting treated badly. I mean, do they literally want him to just are they expecting him to Ryan Reynolds this shit? to actually, never mind. I'm going to be an active producer and writer and everything. I'm going to have to muscle this into existence. Is that what they're aiming for? For him to come to them with a completed project that he can star in? Because if that's the case, I bet you they didn't communicate. I bet you that's not what they said. They said we're going to make this, and he's like, "You guys are the story and you know cinematic universe people. I figure I'll leave it to you. Y'all can you get a director, get a writer, and I'll show up." And but maybe they are expecting a Ryan Reynolds you know situation because this character wasn't supposed to be a part of the MCU tapestry. And so, if he really, I think maybe if he really wants it made, he's going to have to just, take time off from all of his other commitments and actually track down a writer and a director that he can trust and like just hammer a fucking story out and get it to Marvel and see if they'll take it. Because otherwise, I don't see this happening. This I think it's wild. Mahershala Ali he's too good of a talent to have to go through this shit. So I don't know. Well, Marvel, get it together. That's all. That's all I want y'all to do. Get it together and get Blade off the ground. Y'all, are you wait? Because in my mind, maybe they finally did figure out what to do with Blade, but it doesn't fit into their current, ideas. Right now they're trying to finish off the multiverse saga, which of course we know will end in 2027 with Secret Wars, and so 2028 is really when the next phase is happening. And if magic and whatever is part of that, that'll be it. And by then, I don't give a damn. Mahershala Ali's in great shape. He can't do 3 movies after that in 2028 forward. You're talking about even if at most, at best, from if the movie comes out in 2028 and you're talking about 3 movies from that, at best, it'll be 2034, 2035 before the final film is done. And Mahershala Ali is in his 50s. That makes no sense. I don't know. We're going to see. Marvel, give the man a call and start this shit. Let's start this engine up. I'm tired of sitting in this car waiting for us to go somewhere. I need y'all to get the driver in the seat and let's get out of here. So anyway, we'll let you guys know if there's more information, and we'll talk about it then. We got John Bernthal announced, y'all, as joining the cast of Spider-Man 4. Of course, reprising his role as the Punisher. Most recently, we saw him as Frank Castle in Daredevil Born Again. He kicked ass. John Bernthal he always brings it. Let me know when the last time he didn't bring it. Remind me. He's an iconic Punisher. Everyone, his Punisher is well regarded. His series is showing up in Daredevil. He is a grounded and gritty character that really, he's striking at the underbelly of New York crime. And he is, of course, targeted by Wilson Fisk in the New York City that is, of course, run by Wilson Fisk right now. So this is the backdrop of Spider-Man 4. We were hoping that Spider-Man 4 would be more friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and less Avengers Spider-Man, like we saw in the original trilogy. And we've heard some stuff about maybe Scorpion or whatever, or Tombstone was going to be potentially going to be bad guys. Well, this gives me some hope that that's true. Because I also heard that Mark Ruffalo might be in. I'm like, I don't want no damn Hulk in this. Spider-Man don't need any other, big power hero rolling up in New York City for anything. Even though I will say there is precedent for it, because remember, in the Incredible Hulk, they smashed up Harlem, pretty bad actually. So it could be something related to that. But I love this. I love hearing this and seeing this. Spider-Man and Punisher have traditionally, look, they don't see eye to eye. They don't. I mean, I think Spider-Man respects him and he respects Spider-Man, but not because the method. Sometimes they're on the same side. One of my favorite, uh, and one of my first comic book stories that I ever really got into, that was Spider-Man, was my first character that really got me into comics. And almost literally the first story I read involved a team up with Punisher and like Moon Knight and Nova. There's a bunch of people in it, but it was really cool. And you know they're more or less on the same side, but you know Frank Castle's a murderer, so how much can young and idealistic, you know, Peter Parker actually deal with a Frank Castle that does not play around with anybody? And he's literally a kid. You know, Frank Castle's a grown ass man. Um, but their contrast in styles, and when they finally have to team up, will be very interesting. So I actually really love this. I think first of all, John Bernthal and Tom Holland in real life, if I understand, if they're not friends, they are friendly, but they have worked together. There's a professional relationship there. There is a probably a friendship. I think they can work well together, and of course, they're both professionals, and they both really, you know, they bring their A game. But I think this kind of contrast in styles and tones would really do well for Spider-Man to really bring him down to the street level. Like Spider-Man is intended. I don't know if y'all read the comics or whatever, but if you don't, he's really kind of the apex of the street level. Like we know he can run with the big boys. We know he can run with Hulks and you know with even Cosmic level. He can run with that crew. He can run in that arena. But really, he's like, yeah, he can play in the NBA, but he mostly is street ball. He's mostly down, he's down at Rucker Park, But yeah, he can run, he can run and get his points, running with NBA guys. But he mostly is out there doing street ball. That's what I'm saying. So he's supposed to be the apex of what street level is all about. So bringing him into into a team up with someone of a Punisher's level is really interesting, and that probably means there's organized crime. There's if they're talking about Tombstone, they're talking about Scorpion. There's probably going to be organized crime going on, and this is all in the background of Wilson Fisk's New York, which has zero tolerance for masked vigilantes. I mean, I think this is good, and really tying together the Daredevil and the Defender side of the MCU with the more mainstream MCU. I love that. So I'm super excited about this. I can't wait. I can't wait to see set photos and a lot more of that as they really get into filming, which I don't think they've started filming yet, but hopefully soon. Really excited about that. So anyway, we'll see. We'll keep an eye out on more information about that and let you know how we feel about it then. Last bit of news before we talk about Ironheart, the first few episodes, we're going to talk about review bombing on Ironheart. And I say racists or review bomb. Look, not all of the people who are downvoting Ironheart are racist. Some of them are sexist too. Some of them are homophobes and queerphobic too. It's not all, let's be inclusive of the bigots who are, and I'd be like, man, not everybody who dislikes Ironheart is a bigot. You're right. Not everybody that dislikes Ironheart is a bigot. Just a lot of them are. And we know it's true because all you gotta do is look at the review sites and let us be reminded. Ironheart's another reminder. IMDb user reviews are useless. What is it? Rotten Tomatoes user reviews useless because people can just vote on shit that they ain't seen. How do you verify they've seen it? You know how we know this? Because you got reviews of Ironheart that were posted that were like one star whatever negative reviews posted 20 minutes after the episodes were available to view. 20 minutes. These are this is almost 3 hours worth of content. Almost 3 hours worth of content. And these people are putting 1-star reviews on it 20 minutes, less than 3 hours after is, which means they didn't watch it. You can't watch something, you can't even fast forward through it and understand what's happening. They didn't watch it. They decided we're going to download. This is just this is a culture war thing. It is just normal. It is absolutely normal. Unfortunately, that racists and other bigots of all stripes are going to get on there and review bomb it to the but and with TV shows, you can't even police it really, mainly because you don't have to verify that you've seen anything. And I would say this is unfortunate, but it just is the way it is. Like, if you seriously are paying attention to what Rotten Tomatoes audience score says about to decide whether or not to watch something, you are stupid. Straight up, you are not smart. You can't be, because it's clearly not real. People who aren't really interested in giving honest reviews, they're interested in pushing an agenda. They're the main ones talking about pushing an agenda, and when it comes to storytelling, that's all they do when they review these things. You also have the usual suspects on the right-wing grift side of the internet who are doing their usual thing, and it's like they all agreed on a script and they all agreed on how to do their thumbnails, because they're saying the same fucking things and they're saying tired, stupid things. And MCU, woke, blah. It is this, like, they are the cream of the crop of the really stupid people who follow them. Like, the really these are people who are somewhat more courageous in the things they have to say, because by and large they're all cowards. They really are. By and large, they're all cowards. They won't just say what they want to say outright, because it's not quite okay to say the N-word, or to say you hate black people or women or whatever. It's not quite. So they got to couch it in like real fucking mealy mouth terms or whatever. But we're not stupid. We can fucking see it, man. There's double standards on display, all sorts of things. And besides the grifters, all of the usual nerdrotics and so forth, who they make their money because they are speaking to a segment of the population that wishes they could call me the N-word to my face and get away with it. By the way, you can't. Don't try me or other people like me, because you will get slapped. Anyway, the point is, they're cowards, and but these people are slightly less cowardly, and they're just hiding, but they put their face to it, but they're on the internet, and they're gonna say they're a little racist bullshit. Yeah. They do get paid off of it. I mean, I guess, even some people even get paid off of polluting and pouring toxic waste, into rivers. So, I mean, somebody's going to get paid eventually. But then you also have the actually bros who are, the yucking the yum people who are spending all this time writing essays, nitpicking things that aren't real, they're not real concern. Remember, this is a show that takes place in a universe where there's magic and like superpower people. There's Tony Stark was running around in a fucking tin can getting beat to hell. He should be dead. There's lots of things that are like, that doesn't make sense. That shouldn't work like that. That's not real. And we're just gonna go with it because it's the MCU, and that's just that's how it is. Except when it's a young black woman that's got that's a super genius. Now suddenly we really care about physics. Now we suddenly really really care about ethics. Well, now it's okay for Tony and all them to do this shit. Now Riri, now suddenly she's got extra scrutiny. oh, this wouldn't work. That's not how it will work in the real world. There's lots of shit in the MCU that wouldn't work in the real world. I need y'all to have that energy for that shit. I've been shit talking Iron Man. And by the way, I love Iron Man, but I've been shit talking Iron Man, and it's ridiculously bad physics for a long time. It doesn't. A lot of it, Iron Man doesn't make any sense, but we accept it because that's the way. It's the MCU. Yeah, you have to accept it to move on with the story. And I wish a lot of you, well, actually, bros, would get it through your head that one, maybe they don't have to explain every fucking thing to you. They just don't. Not explain everything to you. Two, if you would just fucking pay attention and use your imagination, I know it's hard sometimes. Use your fucking imagination. I'm pretty sure you could explain away some of these gotchas that you think you have. They're not gotchas, man. Just watch the show. They are explaining it to you. You know why the Ironheart is explaining this shit to you? They're explaining a lot of things that you think are gotchas. Because they know you guys are going to nitpick because this is not a white, straight dude. That's why. They know extra scrutiny is going to be applied to Riri Williams because of who and what she is. That will not apply to a white dude in her same place. And you can deny that and say we're playing the race card. Well, you guys keep you keep confirming it every single fucking time. Every time there's a woman, every time there's a queer person, every time there's a person of color that are in these situations, suddenly you guys turn into fucking lawyers. Like you are trying to make an actual legal case against the show. But all that energy, you lose all that energy when next time you see Steve Rogers, or next time you see Tony Stark or Scott Lang or whatever, Hawkeye. Y'all lose that energy real fast about who's a real hero. Hawkeye was murdering people left, right, and center. So was Natasha. Y'all lose that energy real fast when it comes to them. But y'all get real litigious when it comes to Riri Williams. Miss me on all that shit. All of it. You're all lame. You're all fucking losers. Yeah, okay, y'all grifters, yeah, you getting a check. It doesn't stop you from being lame. Once a lame, always a lame. And that's true. You're still fucking lame. Unfortunately, you got a lot of lames that are willing to pay you for your lame bullshit. But that ain't gonna stop me from calling you racist, because you are. You act like a racist, you're gonna get called one. You act like a sexist, you're gonna be called. Your bigotry is apparent, and maybe you want to reclaim it. Maybe you want to reclaim that term. Whatever you do, you're still lame as fuck. You actually, bros, you're lame as fuck. You don't like this shit? Go watch something else. You can't identify with these characters because they don't look like you. First of all, fucking emotionally grow up and figure out that not everything's fucking about you. And if you can't identify with these characters because they ain't where you from and don't look like you, welcome to the way the rest of us have to live our fucking lives. That we have to identify with and learn how to empathize with people that don't look like us and ain't from where we from and aren't culturally just like us. So, congratulations. You get to learn how to be like every other fucking person on the planet. So, stop bitching. Anyway, you guys are lame as hell. You're gonna keep doing it, man. We're gonna keep calling you what you are, which is fucking cowards and racists. So, with that being said, let's move on to talking about Ironheart episodes 1 through 3, which premiered on Tuesday. I got to watch it on Wednesday morning because I work on Tuesday nights, but it was 3 real hours. Like I was, well, I guess I wouldn't say 3 real hours. It's more like it's 2 hours and 40-ish minutes, but it's a lot, a lot of content. I'm so happy that that's true. I suspect that's because they had more episodes and they compressed it and like really tightened it up. It probably started out as 8 episodes. They cut off two and just kind of condensed it into 2 episodes. If that's true, that's awesome because I hate I hate the Disney Plus shows that are just 30 minutes per episode and it's only 8 episodes. Get out of here. Don't do that. These are really good, hefty size episodes. Um, Starts off with Riri getting expelled from MIT, going back home to Chicago, and still trying to pursue her dream of making an Iron Man suit that is superior to whatever Tony Stark can make. She's a genius. She's 19 years old. She's been at MIT for 5 years, so she started there 14 or 15, uh, and gets expelled because essentially she's cheating. Not that she's cheating. She doesn't need to cheat on anything. She's doing other people's work for money because that all that experience in Wakanda showed her the potential where she could take her suit to really take it to the next level. This show is all about a young black woman who is, you know, head and shoulders above anyone who would think they're her peer and just can't make moves because of who she is and where she's from. She's not from money. She doesn't have, you know, huge grants or fellowships. She doesn't have she doesn't have she's not, she doesn't work for a corporation or whatever. She doesn't have what Tony Stark had. And if she did, she'd probably be flying out there in Kree space with the baddest ass suit. But she doesn't have all that. And also she's got a bit of a chip on her shoulder. Knowing that all of that has held her back, now she's more determined than ever to prove that she doesn't need all that shit to make it happen, to be remembered. She's talking about legacy. She's talking about being remembered as having done something that other people couldn't do. Understandable. She's been told for a while she's a genius, she's gonna, change the world. But she comes limping back home and has to figure it out. And that turns her to Parker Robbins, who is, aka the Hood, a mysterious and magically powered, guy who's running a squad of other talented individuals who are scheming on a master plan to all get paid, and as he says, to refuse to be small and instead to be big, with all of their talents. So this is, I think the thing and I've seen people talk about that they don't, oh, I'm not vibing with this. I don't like this. Is all right, mid, whatever the fuck you want to call it. What they really want to say is this show is way too black for me. I can't vibe with it. It's too black. Cause this show is black as hell. I know Ryan Coogler had something to do with this. And I actually found out that, the head writer, showrunner of the show is from Oakland. And I was like, oh, okay. Her folks are from Chicago. Oh, okay. If you know anything about black community in California, there are a lot of connections to Chicago, a lot of connections to the South, all that sort of thing. But this show is black as hell. And if that is not your cup of tea, too fucking bad, because it is. It's so specific. It's so specific to Chicago, to just kind of the black experience. But it's not a struggle show or anything like that. It's not a struggle movie. It's not that. The struggle is that, Riri has $1 billion ideas and she ain't got $1 billion, right? The story is that Riri is running away from her trauma of seeing a tragic event that took away two people that are very important to her in her life. She's struggling against a system that keeps people like her from achieving their fullest potential because of the circumstances of their birth and the color of their skin. She's struggling against the fact that because her ambition and her pride is so big, she might have to compromise her morals or ethics to get where she's going. In a way, this could be a supervillain origin, but we know that underneath it all, she is actually a good person. She's willing to, to do the heroic thing, but sometimes she's just not in the place where she can actually complete her vision like she wants to. It does lead her to make some questionable decisions, some of which lead to cool things, such as the creation of an AI that is an eerie and almost hard to explain recreation of her best friend who has passed away. Um, it also leads her to meet with you know a guy named Tom who is a a robotics cybernetics aficionado, and he has a connection to a very well known villain in the MCU, played by Alden Ehrenreich, which and they have that whole relationship, and then there's that whole crew that I was mentioning, very special people who have different skills. It's very Ocean's 11ish. I will give it that, and I love Ocean's 11, so I love the heist shit that they get up to. Um, and I love the various characters that in it. In particular, I will highlight in particular, besides Anthony Ramos as the Hood, who is great. Anthony Ramos is great anyway, so I mean, no shit. But also, we have a character by the name of Slug, who is a non-binary black person, who is, to be quite honest, one of the most interesting new characters that we've seen in the MCU. um, and most definitely more fashionable than pretty much anybody else, everybody else in that damn crew. And is just a damn cool person. A gender bent and also race swapped version of a, to be quite honest, innocuous and no one gives a shit about villain that was in a Spider-Man comic. Now, and I mean like for real, or a Spider-Man Punisher, whatever. Nobody fucking knows who this person is. And so if you hear people complaining about this character being gender swapped and race swapped, tell them to shut the fuck up because they don't really know the character either. They have not read that comic book. They don't know it. They're just finding things to be mad about. This, to be honest, this is an improvement. The Slug character is an improvement. You also get Clown, who is a young black lady. I think she's supposed to be represent a character from the Circus of Crime, but she's definitely not a circus member. And also, you get, of course, the cast of characters, the family members, her mom, and her, I guess, perhaps love interests that are childhood friend. It's all, look, this show works in a way that matters most to me, which is working on an emotional level. I love the superhero stuff. Look, I do. She's flying around in a suit. They're kicking, people getting beat up. They're doing heists, all that stuff, the AI stuff. Look, that's cool. Love that. That's window dressing. This is what really is important. This was important to me about Iron Man, Captain America, Black Panther, all of this. I need an emotional story to connect me to the main character, and I get it in this. That's what I want. I care about what Riri's got going on. We get backstory. What she got going on. We get the backstory. The tragic backstory. Why is she the way she is? Why is she willing to do shady stuff to get her dream realized? What is she willing to sacrifice? How does she deal with the apparent return of a friend that's been gone for a long time? How's she closing off from her mom? She's pushing people away. There's a lot that's going on there. Like she creates an AI, whose potential is, in my opinion, beyond what her fucking suit can do. Beyond that. And her mom realizes it, and also realizes that Riri did it on accident and can't recreate it to recreate perhaps the most meaningful person actually in her life, or that was in her life. That's a tragic bit of storytelling. And there's plenty of that. There's social commentary about why does she have to, turn to crime rather than getting, seed investors or anything like that to get her suit going? That's the sort of thing. Like, this is when I say this story is black as fuck, it's because a lot of the decision making, the good and bad, a lot of the way the story moves is about people who are marginalized and less, from lesser means, who are pushed aside because of who they are and what they look like, having to make do or make a way where there wasn't a way. And it's not, it's not, it's not apologizing or saying it's okay. It's saying, hey, it's this, or just like never accomplish, your goals, never accomplish your dreams, and what the cost of that is. And also how, pursuing your dreams, or, maybe taking the shady money isn't necessarily going to lead you to a good place. And so, at the same time, is also introducing magic versus technology. So we're going to get more of that. There's just so many things in this. I think Dominic Thorne is doing an amazing job. Um, I think she's great. She's great as Riri, and she's a small woman with a ton of she's got a ton of like confidence. She's not scared of anybody, and she talks shit and back it up. Love that. Love her mom. Love her Natalie. I wish I could say the name of the actor, but she's doing an amazing job as her best friend. I think Alden Ehrenreich, I think he's really good in his portrayal. Just everyone's just really delivering, and this is a really interesting to me, and exciting story being told within the context of the MCU. And I'm really excited to see how episodes 4 through 6 proceed next week, because we're kind of left in a very interesting place where one member of the crew is gone. There's been some accusations. They're trying to figure out what's up with this magic thing. Who's really giving the Hood his powers? And I suspect there may be the circles closing in on this heist crew, because they're ruffling the feathers of billionaires. You don't do that lightly. Not in America. Even in the MCU, you can't do that easily. Who's going to be called in to sort of deal with them? And the implications of Natalie, when it's actually revealed to the world who and what she is, it's going to be crazy. So I'm excited. I think this show is great. It's a great MCU entry. I'm glad to see it doing well on streaming. I think more people need to check it out. And I think and I hope they bring it home next week. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Ironheart episodes 1 through 3, with as little spoilers as I could. But what did you guys think about that? Those first few episodes? Let me know down in the comments. So, with all that being said, that is all I had to talk about this week on the Supercast. But you know what? Maybe I missed something. You wanted to agree with me, disagree with me. You just want to say something nice. You want to troll me. Get down to the comment section, leave your thoughts there. And of course, you can always hit me up. supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com, blurred_force1 on Instagram and Threads, super_not_funny show on TikTok. And while you're doing that, do me a favor, get down there, hit like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. All that good stuff helps to grow this channel, helps more people to see this podcast, and to see all of the other content that we make on Blurred Force 1. All right, so thanks everyone for joining me on this episode. Come back next week. We're gonna talk about our anticipation for Superman. We are almost there. It is knocking on the door. I cannot wait. Hoping I can secure a popcorn bucket or something, anything, because I think Superman hype is bigger than we think, and I'm sure we're gonna get the first. I think the review embargo is coming up soon, so we're probably gonna talk about the first impressions. I'm just super excited. I don't know about you. I'm avoiding everything else they're talking about. Everything else they're showing, I don't want any more trailers. Don't care. Ready to see this movie. So, anyway, this has been episode 186 of the Supercast. Come back next week and join me for more comic book, movie, and TV show news and discussion. So, until then, I've been Mo, your comic extraordinaire on all things pop culture. Now, see you guys on the other side of the thread. Peace.